go.
Carl,
All right.
do you have Mike Connor's email address by any chance?
I copied the link out of your email. But I will get it here shortly.
And we're going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of get on before we really start talking about all the exciting things we got coming up and going on. Just kind of talking fish stories, Courtney. I know you probably have some recent fish stories. You catching anything this week?
I haven't been fishing this week, but we obviously went last weekend and got on a really nice flounder bite.
Nice. Yeah, I remember seeing some of those pictures.
Yep.
Catching them on the still catching them on the Fish Bites. What is it? The Dirty Boxer.
Yeah, Dirty Boxer and the butt kicker, the paddle tail is producing really well. Para likes to fish the brawler, the jerk bait.
Yep. Haven't
So
got into that
all
yet.
three of those are good producers.
Nice. Yeah, I've been a huge fan of the Dirty Boxers for a long time, and just started using the paddle tails after, I guess it was Brett taught me how to get better action out of those baits by stretching them before he actually used them. That was a game changer for me.
That's right. You got to stretch the tail.
Yeah, nobody told me that the first time I tried using it, and I cast it out, reeled it in, and there's like zero action. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and put something else on. I had like zero confidence in that bait, and then when Brent told me I had to stretch it, all of a sudden it activated that action, and I've been catching fish ever since. So
Awesome.
And
Good to
it's
hear.
those little tricks that you learn in the fishing community that make all the difference in the world sometimes.
That's right.
Courtney, are those actually flounders or is it fluke?
Well, flounder.
What you've been catching, are those flounders or fluke?
Flounder.
Okay, so I got a question. Have you ever tried chumming corn?
I have not. No.
Okay, so if you're in an area where you know that there's flounders,
Mm-hmm.
okay, get some corn, chum some corn on there, and on the hook, put a little piece of corn on your hook.
Okay.
You'll see.
All
That's
right.
what we use up north.
Okay. I'm willing to. I'm always looking for something new to try.
Hey, look, they told me to go ahead and use Diet Pepsi with shrimp.
That's right.
Yep.
The Diet Pepsi shrimp.
Yep, Diet Pepsi soaked shrimp
That's right.
for the
Diet Pepsi and
whiting
shrimp.
in the cooler months.
Oh, I tell you, for the whiting, it's a hit for the whitings. I have no problem with the whitings with the Diet Pepsi and shrimp, but the corn on there, and if you can, up north, I can't remember the name of the worm, but there's a worm up north that has a lot of legs on there. It's really bloody worm. If you could get one of those, like a rubber worm, get it online and order that. Whenever you chunk the corn, you throw that worm in the water, just move it a little bit, just take it a little bit like it was moving.
Sure.
And you're gonna get a whole lot of flounders. You're gonna mail me some flounder.
Well, I'm a fish bites only girl, but I've never heard of the corn thing for flounder. I've heard it for carp and other species, but never for flounder. So
What's the Pepsi thing? What's the Pepsi thing?
All right, so I'm gonna video it.
Okay, so you buy the shrimp, and you cut the shrimp. I cut it with the scissors, cut the tail off, cut it into pieces, and you put it in a bowl, and you put Diet Pepsi in it, marinate it overnight.
Okay.
And just go fishing, man. For the whiting, it's a hit. I mean, it's whiting after whiting after whiting.
I can confirm it is 100% a thing up here in
Yeah.
Northeast Florida. It is
Wow.
like the surf and pier fishermen, they swear by it. Like they give testimonials about how they're fishing and catching, like out catching the anglers just a few yards on either side of them, like 3 to 1 and more. It's pretty
That's wild.
crazy. Like what I want to know is like, how did somebody come up with, like, how did
Right.
somebody even think of that? Like,
Well, by
how slow was the bite to be like, you know what, I'm gonna try.
right, they hold my beer. They were drinking beer, you know they were.
Yeah,
That's what I was
Oh,
gonna say. They
man.
ran out of beer, so they used the Pepsi.
yeah. Tell you what, us fishermen can have some crazy ideas. I tell you.
I lived 27 years in the Keys, and we were yellowtailing one time. And one of the local charter captains right down on my boat. I mean, we were talking to him, right? And we were catching. He couldn't catch, right? Well, my brother-in-law has started spraying the baits with WD-40, right?
Yeah.
So when Captain Carey saw us putting WD-40 on our bait, he went down below and brought up a can of WD-40 too.
Yeah, I'll give you a trick for that. What we did up north, we catch the striped bass. I'm talking 30 to 40 inch striped bass. But the striped bass, they like not the bunker. They like the mackerel. They love mackerel. So you cut a piece of mackerel and you spray it with WD-40, and you throw it out there. Man, if you never caught a striped bass is like I don't know, it's like hooking into it's worse than a bluefish. I mean, it just jumps out of the water, it tries to smack the hook right out of the mouth, and it gives you a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, so you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know.
All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and let's get this rolling. Did Mike get on?
Mike is on, and Mike is in the hospital. He's 8 hours out of surgery from hip replacement.
Okay, there he is. I see him. Hey, Mike, welcome. Andrew, welcome. Ronald. All right, Karen. Cool. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start by let's see. Look at my notes here. Well, we talked a little bit of fishing, so I'm going to let Carl here introduce himself. Carl, go for it.
Sure. So my name's Captain Carl Dygert. I've had my captain's license going on 20 years now. I got that when I lived in the Keys. I did sailing charters. I didn't do fishing charters. But I'm a pharmacist by profession.
Pharmacist.
Yeah, an activist by avocation. So I came to this. I've been in Florida since 1986, but I've been coming since I was in diapers. I was lucky. I learned how to scuba dive when I was 14. First time I dove the Keys was in 1974, 75. First time I did Crystal River, Rainbow River, all in the mid 70s. And I've just watched the degradation that's happened over the years. And then I was lucky enough to fulfill a life dream to buy a waterfront motel in Matlacha, Florida, and do my charter. I did Eco Tour beach charters there. And in 2016, we had that cyanobacteria bloom come out of Lake Okeechobee to Cape Coral. It was so bad the small animals could walk across it in Cape
Wow.
Coral. And I stood on my dock in my backyard and said, if that comes to Matlacha, I'm going to have to go. And so I had to go. In 2021, I decided that I could no longer watch my guests try to drown shrimp through an algae plugged canal. I couldn't put them on my boat and drive them past dead manatees at the end of my canal where the municipal, the county boat ramp was. And they would tie them up there for a day or two at a time before they came and got them. So I know what's going on. So we came to this, how I came to this was, I got tired. I was going to all the meetings. Cape Coral, all through Lee County, Charlotte County. And I heard more than once, Carl, go home. You don't live here. We don't represent you. Lee County, they'd say, Carl, thanks for coming today. And I was ready to give up. And we have a good friend, Gary Robbins, who I did a little presentation about. We started as a Rights of Nature initiative to give ecosystems personified rights. And I found out about that about 2 weeks after my buddy Gary said, Carl, who do you want to be? And I decided this is who I want to be. I'm going to bring change to this amendment. And once I discovered that we don't need the permission, approval, acceptance of any politician, that we can do this by the petition process, it was a home run for me. I'm like, this is where my energy needs to go. No more meetings. I'm not going to try to convince somebody to think like me anymore, because I already know I have 20 million Floridians that probably do think like me, or most of them anyway, except the 440, about 200 guys in Tallahassee. Right. So that's how I came to this, guys.
All right, and I am Captain Adam Morley. I recognize a lot of folks on the call and new folks out there as well. Also a captain for little over 20 years, I guess now. Got my start at the Genungs Fish Camp 20-something years ago as a kayak fishing guide, became a charter captain, and 20-something years later, actually came back. My wife and I now own the Genungs Fish Camp in Crescent Beach. I've been a angler all my life since about seven or eight is when I got my first fishing rod. And I really got involved in clean water advocacy in 2013, I think it was. One of the things that I noticed, little background, I'm in the Matanzas River area, Northeast Florida, and we actually have pretty clean, healthy estuaries up here. But what I did notice in 2013, and in subsequent years, as we started hearing more and more of the blue-green toxic algae down in South Florida, I noticed more and more captains getting displaced from areas down south and coming up here to my area and kind of destabilizing the local charter fishing community in that way. Even though we have healthy estuaries, the pressure that was brought up here because of the fish kills and everything down south definitely got me interested and got me thinking that we should probably be doing something more statewide to protect all of Florida's waters and not focus so much on just little pockets, because if we focus on just little pockets, chances are we're going to end up still feeling the impacts of areas that didn't focus much on their area until it was too late. So one of the things that I want to talk about tonight is the tournament that we've got going on, the Florida Fins and Frames tournament. So this tournament, obviously to help advocate and promote clean water and the amendment that we're going to be talking about a little bit this evening. So this is a fish picture tournament. It's encouraged for CPR, catch, photo, release, but not mandatory. So for the anglers out there that like putting food on their table, as much as I love fishing, I'm not a big fish eater. I'll bring fish home for my wife occasionally, but I'm just in it for the sport and the activity. I enjoy being out there on the water and just the peace of mind that it brings. So some of the great things, it's a statewide tournament. We've got prizes both for the anglers, and we just added recently on the form online where you submit your fish, favorite bait and tackle shops. So the tackle shops are going to get recognition as well. So I know as a tackle shop owner myself that a lot of folks have that tackle shop loyalty or that brand loyalty, and they want to give them a shout out. So if you're fishing this tournament and you want to submit some pictures, be sure to mention your favorite bait and tackle shop so that they can get some recognition as well. We have a great painting, a redfish painting by the artist Megan Robinson. She's a fantastic artist up in Northeast Florida here. Absolutely beautiful painting. You may have seen it in some of the promotions for this call. We also have $500 in gift cards to local bait shops of the angler's choice. So statewide, anglers have the option to pick the bait shop they want to get gift cards for should they place in this Florida Fins and Frames tournament. So we're trying to support local, bring all of these businesses that are impacted and dependent on clean water into this effort, into this movement. Judging is going to be done by professional photographers and fishing magazine editors. So we're looking for those photos that you would hopefully like see on the cover or on the inside pages of some of our favorite fishing publications. So we're looking for basic things. And if you go to the website, the tournament entry, it's going to mention some of the basic criteria: lighting, making sure you have the good lighting, no shadows, not having a super cluttered background, looking for a natural background, things that make for visually appealing photos. And another aspect of this tournament is that there's a little place for a caption as well, so that you can tell folks what clean water means to you. So really hoping to get some great content there, give away some great prizes. We are soliciting more prizes than what we currently have, but if anybody has any ideas on additional prizes that we can go after, let us know. You also get some really cool bragging rights that you win a statewide fishing pick tournament if you submit some of your best photos and end up getting chosen. So to me, that means a lot as an angler who's not looking to weigh fish in, but at least prove that I can still catch fish. Bragging rights mean a lot to me. So real quick, does anybody have any questions about the tournament that I can answer? Any?
Where's the tournament going to be held at?
So the tournament is wherever you fish. It's statewide, and it includes redfish, trout, flounder, snook, tarpon, and mangrove snapper, and for the freshwater guys, largemouth bass. So you can fish your home waters, you can fish your local waters. Anywhere in the state is open. This is a fish picture tournament, so we're looking for your best fishing picture, and then you just upload it to the tournament site. I think it's Right to Clean Water /tournament.org, something like that. It was in the links for this call as well. So be sure to pull up, and that's for the month of August. So if you catch a fish at any point in August, any of those fish during August, get your best fish picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I know you said you haven't been out since the beginning of this year. But
Oh man.
try to get out this month and get a picture to upload. So
Go to Publix and get that corn.
Yeah, I gotta get that corn. I gotta get that corn.
Bust out that corn. All right, so yeah, the statewide tournament. It's a photo, basically a photo contest for your best fish picture. You can upload it online, and any Florida resident is eligible. It's free to enter, and you get to win some great prizes. So, good question. Thank you. Any other questions on the tournament?
I have a question for everybody. Well, go ahead. Anybody got tournament questions?
All right.
So I have a
Well,
question for everybody, and I'd like to put, if you could just put your answer in chat, so we can just kind of get a poll there. I'd like everybody to put in chat, what is our #1 environmental problem in the state of Florida? So if you could just put your answer, think about it for a few minutes, just put your answer in there.
Through
And
your
then
children
we'll follow up on that at the end.
and less
Yeah.
leaves. The very first trim off all these diseased, dead, and decaying leaves.
All right, and while everybody's putting their answers in there, I'm gonna talk about why we're doing this tournament. This tournament is to not just get people fishing and get fishing pictures, but it is to promote the Florida Right to Clean Water Amendment that we are gathering petitions for, mobilizing, trying to get anglers on board for. So that's the real reason behind this Florida Fins and Frames tournament, is to get people on board and learn about what we're trying to do, get them to sign petitions, get them to get their friends and families to sign petitions. It's always a tough ask to get people to do that, to get people to go out and gather petitions, but it is vital to the success of our goals to promote clean water, get clean water, continue to have great fishing here in Florida. We are the fishing capital of the world. If we want to keep that title, let's prove that we intend to keep that title by working on this amendment, because I don't want to just tell my son about how great the fishing used to be. I want to be able to show him better fishing in the future than what we currently have throughout the state. We have great fishing in my neck of the woods, but I know farther south with all the fish kills, that's really had an impact on fishing down there. I want better fishing down there. I want better fishing on the West Coast. I want better fishing for Florida, because I'll admit it's a little bit selfish on my part. I own a bait and tackle shop. Better fishing, I'm doing better.
That's right.
Like coastal economies depend on clean water, and I live right on Anastasia Island in St. Augustine. My shop depends on clean water, so I want to do everything I can to ensure clean, healthy water so that we can continue to catch fish well into the future. I want my son to be able to say, "Dad, I've caught more fish than you. I've caught bigger fish than you." And I want to say, "Okay, well, game on. Let's go." I'm gonna have to change that.
Yeah.
So that's the whole reason behind the tournament, is to ultimately promote and advocate for clean water and the right to clean water amendment that we're pushing for. Carl, you've got some comments on the amendment, and then we can probably answer any questions if anybody has questions on the amendment.
Can I get a screen share?
You got it, Carl.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Not yet.
All right. I'm pulling up the amendment. So if you guys can't see it, I will. Oh, you know what? Oh, my bad. I'm trying to do it. I'm doing it from my screen top, not the. Let's see here, down about.
Carl, this is what you're looking for?
There
Yeah,
you go.
you're the man. Right. Let's see here. I lost my Zoom page. New options. Fit the window. All right. Are you guys looking at the amendment? We can't see.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now I can't read it because of the chat. All right. So I'm just going to read it real quick. So this amendment creates a fundamental right to clean and healthy waters. Fundamental means it's innate. It belongs to us. It does, as humans born, we have the fundamental right, just like all the other fundamental rights in our federal constitution, to healthy and clean waters. The amendment may be used to sue state executive agencies for harm and threatened harm to Florida's waters, which include aquatic ecosystems And if you read further down, we've got quite a list of those ecosystems, everything from uplands, wetlands to the beach. So we hear a lot of pushback that the amendment, if enacted, will create a lot of frivolous lawsuits. Well, there's no such thing as a frivolous lawsuit these days because you can't go to court for less than $100,000. So this is not about anybody suing an individual. It's not about your neighbor throwing grass clippings into the canal. It's about suing state executive agencies. We're talking about the Florida DEP. We're talking about FWC, Florida Water Management boards, to make them do the job that we hired them to do. It's real simple. They're pandering to special interest all the time. We have legislators that create regulations to the point where every legislative decision basically has to refer back to some regulatory policy to see if it's okay for what they're doing, right? So enacted as this fundamental right, it's going to give the legislators a reference, a floor of protections. Every time they make a decision about affect our water, they're going to have to consider, hey, does this violate everybody in Florida's right to clean water? Every time the DEP makes a decision, FWC makes a decision, they now have a reference. And because it's fundamental, it's in the Constitution Bill of Rights, it sets the floor for protections. So it's the tool that's been missing for every environmental agency in the state of Florida for decades. Because up until now, without this, if you've not been personally harmed or suffered damages, you can't litigate upstream. But this will allow us to hold Tallahassee agencies accountable if they're doing anything that harm our waters. And anybody want to get into a few examples of that, of what you think our executive agencies might not be doing properly for us? I saw a few of them in chat. Joe, I think you can take that down. So how this all came about was in 5 years ago, when I started really digging in on this, we started out as a Rights of Nature initiative. In 2020, we formed a statewide group called Florida Rights of Nature Network. Chuck O'Neill in Ocala, in Orlando, got the local county charter amended to give every water body in the county the legal right to exist and the ability for every citizen in Orange County to represent those waters, much like a voiceless child is represented in court. Now, about 3 months before the voters of Orange County put that law on the books, our state legislators decided to preempt it, basically nullifying it in the will of the people of Orange County. So we had to drop back and think of another way to carry our mission forward. And Mel Martin and several other constitutional law attorneys dug in. They wrote this language. They fine-tuned it word by word to make sure that it passes the state Supreme Court review, which happens at 225,000 signatures. It gets reviewed by the Supreme Court for just content. I mean, not content, just basically for formatting, basically. Once we get to 225, we can move forward and get it on the ballot for 2024. And once it's on the ballot, then we need to bring the awareness so all Floridians can vote for it in the general election in 2024. So this is how this works. But so it was that preemption that brought us to this. Once we got preempted on the rights of nature stuff, we said, look, we got to do something different. So this is how we escalated to the civil human right to clean water. It's really a kind of, it's, Mel, I don't know if you thought of it or who thought of it, but when you guys put it on the table, I was like, holy cow, this is brilliant legal stuff. And Mel is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, she is. In fact, she's so brilliant. Mel, did you see Adam Clay's comment there?
I did.
Would you like to answer that?
I would love to.
Show off that brilliance?
So, no. However, so the bottom line is, how does this thing work, right? And why is a fundamental right different in the law than a normal right? And the answer to that is within, and it's a very quick law school lesson, really. But when you say fundamental, when you assign the fundamental nature to a right, like the right to, freedom of expression, assembly, petition, religion, all those big ones, right? The court has a duty to apply what's called strict scrutiny. And strict scrutiny just means we're not going to take your word for it as much as we used to. We're going to look into it a little further to ensure that you are doing everything you can to prevent unnecessary harm or unnecessary violation of rights. Okay, so that means this right is not absolute. Okay, it's fundamental. It's at the core, one of the most important things that we can hang our hats on in the law. However, it's not absolute. It does bring in the balancing test of interests. However, our right to clean and healthy water is going to be weighed more heavily than a right to pollute the water. Okay, and that's what a lot of the issues come down to when you're looking at certain industrial operations that use our shared waters as the dumping ground or the waste flow in order to maximize the profit margin. Could that business model capture the water treatment expenses or whatever the design or materials that it takes to ensure that no harm comes to the waters? Yes, they sure could. However, it doesn't necessarily happen to the necessary degree because we're allowing state sanctioned harm of water pollution all through the state. So when you're talking about what is this amendment really capture, it's agency decisions like permitting, policies and rules and regulations that allow for these state sanctioned harms or threats to harm, and bringing that into court if necessary. And I'll come back to that in a second. But you bring it into court and the court looks at it and says, this could have, you don't have, this is not as important. What you're doing here is not as important as someone's right to clean and healthy water. So that permit is not as good as it needs to be. Go back and start over. Or, I can run through the examples, but the bottom line is the court has the ability to enforce a heightened standard of protection for waters under this amendment. And honestly, the Q&A, all the questions and applications will bring out a better picture, more clearer picture of how exactly it can be used. So, we can do a robust Q&A now if you would like. But let me go back to a real quick point regarding the fact that it's in the Constitution will allow the agencies through their government attorneys, right? The departments have offices of general counsel. The specificity found in this amendment in the language regarding the standards, what exactly is prohibited, what does harm mean, what are indicators of harm, and all the above, it's clearly specified throughout the language of the amendment. Okay, that means there's not going to be any question. There's not going to be any more discretion regarding what harm is. Meaning agencies can no longer say, okay, that particular business's or corporation's profit margin is no longer equated to the public interest of clean and healthy water for that particular water body. All right. So it does this. It means the water health is more important. So whatever you're doing over here, you can still go into, do but business, whatever you high and most profitable use of your property, all the above, but there's a line in the sand now that you can't cross. You can do what you want, but you can't harm our waters anymore. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the gist of it. And again, I can definitely see answer questions and applications for particular scenarios throughout the state.
So currently our efforts as individuals in Florida, if we see something happening to our bodies of water, the water that we're fishing on, our only course of action right now, because we don't currently have any legal standing, because we don't have a right to that, is to go to our local government or go to Tallahassee and essentially what we always hear, call your representative, email your representative, go to your city meetings. I've been doing that, beg, exactly, Cheryl. I've been begging a long time only to watch my representative smile and nod and then welcome the next person in and nothing ever really getting done. What this amendment does is it gives individuals and groups legal standing to say you are breaking the law. It's not allowing individuals to sue for money. Like if I were to say you're breaking the law, I'm going to sue you for X amount of money. That's not how this amendment works. This is simply, listen, you're breaking the law. Now it's going to the court system. I don't have to beg anybody. I can bring it. It can be enforced as the courts rule on that decision, saying it's a fundamental right in the Constitution. Yes, Adam is right. You guys are breaking the law by polluting the water. You got to cut that out. Right, Mel? That's kind of basically.
Yeah, absolutely. They have it's called equitable remedies. So they have either the declaratory relief, which means y'all are breaking the law, stop it. Or you have injunctive relief, meaning, okay, that permit is breaking the law, the permit no longer is void, et cetera. So it's both sides, but there's no, you broke the law and you caused this much damage, you will now have to pay this many millions of dollars to fix yourself. That the courts don't do that. The courts ensure that more or less remind the agencies, this is your duty, no kidding duty, now do it. You don't have discretion outside of this particular duty. So it's really just making them do their job. And honestly, there's a whole robust body of law in Florida. Florida used to be the leader in the nation for environmental protection and clean water protection and all the above. So this is really just an answer. It's a necessary counter to decades of degradation of of the state's regulatory powers of and interpreting things away and making legal loopholes or preempting, and those types of measures have really done a number on Florida's environmental framework. So this is really just saying, okay, that's too much. You have to go back to your pre-existing duty of care, because that's what your job is. That's what we pay taxes for. We don't pay taxes to allow someone to, shelter their profit margin by using our waters as a toilet. So this is pretty much the gist of it.
That is basically currently what's happening. An interesting stat that I found not too long ago, and I saw again recently in this discussion. I think in the last 14 years, there's been an 86% decrease in the enforcement of environmental regulations, primarily involving water in the state. In the last 14 years, 86% reduction in the enforcement, which is alarming, considering in those 14 years how many harmful algae blooms we've had and how many fish kills we've had and the impact that the state has had in those last 14 years and the impact it's had on our water. So
I think it's becoming more exponential. It's so, when you say 14 years, I mean, when I bought my motel in 2014, the waters of Matlacha were pretty decent. We had nice, beautiful, healthy grass beds. Fishing was great. 2016 came, then the horrific 2018 red tide. And this year's going to be a match for that, I'm sure. So these events are becoming closer and bigger every time. And it's got to do with what happened 14 years ago, right? And we need to reverse that lack of stewardship in the state of Florida. So Matt, so now the court says, go fix it, right? They tell the DEP or the FWC or Water Management District, go fix it. Where's the money coming from, folks? Right? I believe Mel can tell this. The court will say, go find the money. If you're spending money doing something else, stop spending the money there and fix this problem. So the money's there. They just got to use it in different ways. Whether it's sewering in a neighborhood like, the island, Pine Island in Lee County, 18 miles long. It's mostly agrarian. It's, they're dumping fertilizer all over all kind of orchards and palm farms. And then it's a sponge. It's still on septic in 2023, the entire island. Now there's only, I think, about 8 or 10,000 people out there now, but it's all on septic and it's all below, the water table. When it rains, every one of those septics bleeds off into Pine Island Sound and Matlacha Pass. So, could the court force the county to sewer or whatever agency oversees that process? Where's the money come from? They got to go find the money, make it happen.
another important note is that when we do have any of these water issues and any cleanup involved in it, that's always falling back on that burden is always falling back onto the taxpayer currently. But already in our Constitution or in the state statutes, we have the polluter pays laws that go unenforced. The polluter pays laws say that if you're caught polluting, you're going to burden the cost. Those are not currently being enforced. That's one of those decreases in environmental protection. The enforcement of some of those laws has gone unenforced for decades now. And so by implementing this, when we say go find the money, it could be as easy as going to the source of the pollution and making sure that that corporation, that industry that is causing the harm is now burdened with the cleanup costs rather than what's happening now, which is we are getting burdened with the cleanup costs for someone else's mess that they created.
It's always shifted to the taxpayer at this point. Yep.
Right.
Any questions?
I saw some things going through the, I'm on my phone. I'm in South Carolina right now, so I'm not on my laptop. I can't keep track of all the chats. They kind of pop up and disappear pretty quick, but Mel, I don't know if you're keeping track of any of them or if there's any questions in there.
I'd like to address Cheryl's question. Look how much money the city of Stuart got from PFAS. So I approached the mayor, former mayor of Stuart, to do a local charter amendment for the right to clean water, or minimally, we have a resolution that you can present to your local municipality to say that we support the local municipality. Can say whereas we support this effort, right? By the way, Alachua County commissioners have gotten on board. And are they the only county, Mel, at this point, I think, that's supporting us, supporting the effort?
Well,
The-
actually, yes, I think there's one or two municipalities, maybe.
All right. But when I approached the former mayor of Stewart, he took it to the city manager and to the city attorneys. And they're like, no way this is going to happen. We cannot do this because we're going to open ourselves to crazy legislation regarding their PFAS problem. So it becomes, do you want to pay now or you want to pay later? Are you just going to let this stuff fester and blister and just get worse and worse? Or are you going to find the funding and the resources to take care of it now? Because we all know, just like our health, prevention is better than the remedy, right? So this is where we need to look to. Everglades restoration, all I keep want to talk about is water storage. They're talking about deep well injection so it doesn't flow into the lake, so the lake is cleaner. Well, you're just hiding it. You're just hiding dirty water north of the lake so it can't get down there so they can measure it, right? When are we going to start talking about moving clean water instead of storing and moving dirty water? Wouldn't it be nice if the whole Kissimmee chain of lakes flowed to Lake Okeechobee in a clean manner so they could go out the other side? Well, unfortunately, Lake Okeechobee has 200 years of phosphorus content. They're probably will able, not in our lifetime, ever see that happen. But
And it's not just South Florida that's having those issues. Like the St. Johns River, right now, we are allowing for South Florida to transport their biosolids up here to Northeast Florida and dump their biosolids on the watershed for the St. Johns River. So we have a few bodies of water that have the blue-green toxic algae now, the cyanobacteria that's starting to bloom in this area in St. Johns County, St. Johns River, and which is kind of borders St. Johns County. So it's statewide issues. These types of nutrient runoff is one of the big problems, and a lot of that nutrient runoff comes from biosolids, which is basically the sludge you get from the wastewater treatment plants. So human waste, that those biosolids are brought from South Florida up to North Florida, and it's dumped on these acreages of land, and then it rains and you have all of this nutrient runoff ending up in the St. Johns River. I would really like to be able to say, hey, we shouldn't be doing that because here's demonstrable harm that's impacting our waterways. Currently, there's permits that allow that, and they say that that's okay. And I'm pretty sure that we would be able to prove otherwise in court, but we don't have legal standing to take that issue to court.
yeah, and that's why it's so important. So Jack Harper has his hand up. Jack, you want to take the floor? Might be on mute, Jack.
He's not muted. It usually indicates if they're muted.
Oh, yeah. You there, Jack?
Well, while we're waiting on Jack, I will say that it is known that prevention is cheaper than cleanup. So this will help us in preventing future problems, stopping problems from continuing. But in the long run, it's going to be cheaper because if we allow for this to continue as is, what's going to end up happening is we're still going to have to pay for it. And we're going to be paying a much higher ticket price because cleanup is more expensive than prevention.
Can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Leonardo.
Back in 2006, I had a landscaping business, and I had my landscaping business for the better part of 10 years. I worked with the county, and I went to take classes with the county because I wanted to get the permits to be able to do fertilizing and spraying and all that good stuff. Now, when you do go get the permits with the county, okay, and you take the classes, they tell you about how not to use too much water. So when you fertilize, all those chemicals don't fall into the drains, okay, and pollute. But here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. For 10 years as a landscaper, and I ran into just about every landscaping company here in Orlando, okay, from the smallest landscaper to the biggest landscaper, not one person, not one landscaper had hanging from their mirror in the truck the permit to fertilize. Not one, okay? They were supposed to enforce that. Why? Because people fertilize, they turn the sprinkler system on, all that stuff goes right into our drain, goes right into our bodies of water, okay? Now, granted, I'm in Orlando, but that sucks into the ground, and it hits the water that flows through the veins of our city into the lakes. No matter what, it's going to end up in the lakes. Okay, and no one cared. No one cared. No one enforced it. It didn't matter. I could have done any kind of fertilizing without a license,
Right.
And they never enforced it.
We have issues all across. We got mosaic phosphate mining, which is just so horrific. I don't know if you guys haven't gone down the phosphate mining in Florida. Just go to YouTube and Google up phosphate mining in Florida. It is the most horrific industry that you can possibly imagine. They scarify the earth down to 100 feet, and then they try to reclaim it. Right? They try to turn it back the way it was. You can't.
Yeah,
You can't dig a big pit, then backfill it and make it the way it was. Biosolid use, sod farming, citrus farming, they all use it. The dairy farmers use biosolids on their fields to make the grass grow better to feed their cattle. Biosolid use is horrific. Fertilizers. The Florida BMAT program, a program that's designed to start regulating nutrient loading into waterways. It is toothless. It is unenforceable. Florida Springs Council is now taking that case on, trying to put some teeth into that. I think they're doing a pretty good job at that. Thank goodness. That's a perfect example. Here you have a state program, the BMAT program, that allows for self-monitoring. It allows for credits to be traded and exchanged. It's just ridiculous. The people that run the program, I was involved in a lawsuit against the city of Cape Coral. We deposed the Sarah Davis, the head of the program. She was atrocious at her knowledge of her own program. So this is what this law can do. It can, bolster these programs that already exist to make them effective. And that's why this is so important. We got 5 minutes left, and we can run as long as anybody's willing to stay on the call. But the question I posed earlier, there's no incorrect answer, of course. You're all right. Every answer that's there is correct. But I would argue that our biggest environmental problem in the state of Florida is all those things, but lack of awareness of them. Because the average Floridian grinding out a living, putting food on the table, does not have time to assimilate what's happening in their own backyard. So it takes all of us, and we all I spend an inordinate amount of my time on social media, and social media is not the answer. Money's the answer, really, because that's how you bring the awareness through media campaigns and advertising and billboards. Money is what brings the awareness, unfortunately. But the average guy in Florida doesn't know the atrocities that are happening. They haven't seen, the new people don't know what was. You can never convince the guy that snorkeling Rainbow River today that once you were, it was like passing through a crystal prism. Rainbow is reflected not out of the water, but onto the trees as you floated down the river. Now the hard white sand bottom has a thin layer of brown algae across most of it. It doesn't reflect rainbows anymore. We need to fix it. And I really believe we are at a point of no return. And if we allow this to go on for many more years, there won't be any recapturing Florida as we know today. And as our waters become more degraded, what happens? People don't want to come here anymore. It's already national news that our waters are bad. So tourism goes away, jobs go away, tax revenue goes away. This is so vital to the state of Florida to make this happen. And I appreciate every one of you being here today. And I hope you can make it happen.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Carl. I'm not sure if you could see it, but Mike has something. Mike Connor.
Yeah, there, Mike.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'm calling you guys from a hospital in Blairsville, Georgia. I got a new hip today and I'm thrilled. Can't wait. Put it to you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, listen, I just want to say something and want to say how Adam, always appreciate your dedication. Carl, you're a firebrand, man. You really are. Kathleen, anyway, I'm not a stranger to petition drives back in the 90s. I worked for Florida Sportsman at the time. We had the NetBand initiative, which you all, I'm sure everybody in the room knows about. It was a great success. The campaign for that, actually, and I know this, and I'll go back a second. I'll tell you this about the NetBand drive. What really worked for the average citizen to come over and sign petitions and then go to the ballot box and vote for it, even people didn't fish. It was optics. We had horrific photos of sea turtles, seabirds, and manatees in gill nets. And we were fortunate enough to have a magazine where you could run that stuff every month and show it. I've seen before website, but we had that optic, and our pamphlets had those horrific pictures, very few words, horrific pictures of true photos, although the other side called us out for staging them. But we had those optics. Going forward, and I work with Bolsher, I work with Rivers Coalition. I've always pushed the fact that folks need to see something ugly to get angry. And your clean water initiative, there's tons of horrific images out there, and I have about 10,000 of them in my possession of really bad blooms, bad fish kills, you name it. Lingbia, I have all this stuff, and a lot of people. I have folks up here in Georgia. I've been in Georgia for a year, and I have neighbors up on my mountain road here that are part-time Floridians, part-time Georgians, and none of them have heard about this. And more than 6 or 7 have asked me, well, what's that look like? And I'll give you how they go to your website, Carl, and they don't see much in the way of those horrific images that I think work. It's on your website or Facebook. I think if you would just put some really good, horrific looking pictures of Caloosahatchee and Okeechobee right now, for sure. All these things, it would bring home the immediacy of this and the urgency of this for folks to go, oh, that's what cyanobacteria looks like. Because a lot of people don't know. They go to your pages and they understand your language and know it's the thing to do, but I'm not sure they get excited or really get, I don't know. It may help garner more signatures. I don't know. At your sponsor, your volunteers are doing the signatures at all the events out there at fairs and festivals. Do they have real good images they have that kind of thing to see, people can see. Or I'm not, let me ask you this, are people, anybody hedging? Are a lot of people confused about what they're signing and what, I don't know. I just remember the NetBand days when we went to polling places with our pictures, our photos. It was a game winner. It was a game changer for us. I don't know, just a suggestion.
I agree with you. The other one is my photo file. My photo file is just, I mean, living in Matlacha for the 7 years that I lived there, and the images I captured in that time kill me.
Yeah, I'm sure you do have a bunch.
I've actually gotten criticism, like, dude, stop. I got people have stopped inviting me to the cocktail parties, okay? Because I'm like, look at this picture, look at that picture, and have you heard about this?
Oh, you're gonna hear that. Yep, you're gonna get that kind of blowback. But you know what? I mean, I think there are enough citizens out there that really don't have in their mind's eye, really don't know what that stuff looked like and what it did and what year, and identify the fact that this has happened more than 1 year. It's happened 8, 10 times. I don't know.
People from Florida don't have a clue. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce and the real estate agents are still selling the dream that we've all had to have the fortune to live.
Yeah.
I'm on a Zoom meeting. I'm almost done.
I just like to take.
Well, I just want to jump in here for a second, Carl, because I
Sure.
think that Mike's suggestion is a good one. I mean, it could be something as adding a photo gallery to our website. And just let the photos do the talking, and they'll see what Blue Green Energy looks like in red tide and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Mike, you're not the first person to make this recommendation. It's a good one. Thank you.
Okay, surely. I've got a nurse coming in to shoot me full of stuff.
She got a sponge.
Okay, that sounds good.
Anyway, but I got to get with her now, and thanks, guys, and I'll be in touch. Carl, if you need any images, I've got. You might have what I have, so you may not need any, but I got a few really killer images.
I appreciate that, Mike. We'll be in touch.
Thanks
Okay,
for
thank-
joining us, Mike.
Speedy
Okay, everybody,
return.
thank you. Hey, thank you.
I just was, Jack asked a question, what about the spray program? Maybe this is a good one for you, Mel, to just jump in there. But Jack, what it's going to do is give you the legal standing to organize a litigation against the FWC, to take them to court, to prove that they're harming our waters. And how simple is that going to be? I mean, so Mel, maybe you can extrapolate on, how we can use this law to end the horrendous spray program in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I would just say that you just start getting your scientists and your scientific studies squared away now, or before the amendment comes into life, because that is exactly what the amendment's for, is to bring the science to the issue that expects, and because as government officials, we are expecting them to use the science and science-driven data to make the policy decisions. And of course, the suspicion is it's not happening that way. So this is reinvigorating that expectation, solidifying that expectation to ensure that the science is there, good science, right?
Yeah.
Not best paid for science, but that's what the courtroom is for, is the battle of the experts, right? And they'll be able to demonstrate and convince the court that this is indeed a violation of the right. So
and this is why, again, when we hear the arguments from some other groups in Florida that we're not going to support you because this is just going to result in a lot of frivolous lawsuits. I'm going to give you an example. When we sued the city of Cape Coral to prevent the removal of a boat lock that would allow excessive nutrient loading into the Caloosahatchee estuary in the small tooth sawfish protected area. Sorry for not saying that better, but we spent $120,000 to beat one permit. So the traditional framework as it is now is when a municipality or a company files for a permit, it's assumed that permit's going to be issued. Okay, what does a permit do? permit makes what would be an illegal activity legal. That's what it does. It provides the permit holder protections. And that permit is protected by their constitutional rights, either as a corporation or a municipality. A corporation has a constitutional right from seizure of that permit once they have it. So to defeat a permit costs us $120,000. But when the traditional environmental law works is we defeated the permit. And in defeating the permit, we've pointed out the defects of their process. So now they know what they got to do to go back and fix their permit application. They check all the boxes, they cross the T's, they pay the fees, and they come again. Now you're out selling cupcakes as a civic association to raise up $120,000. You're lucky we had a pro bono attorney. But you have to raise your money to fight a municipality that's using your tax dollars to beat you, right? And they will come again, and they will come again. City of Cape Coral is coming again to remove that lock because they want the property values behind that lock to go up. City of Cape Coral is horrendous. In 2008, they removed a boat barrier. It was a berm. It was a dirt berm. The whole canal system of Cape Coral was designed as a storm water treatment system to detain the water into the canals so that it would slowly leach out into the surrounding water bodies. In 2008, the city just illegally removed that berm so that 400 square surface miles of canals dump into the Matlacha Pass, right into my backyard in Matlacha twice a day, right? And everybody wonders why the water's gone to hell. And they have been sued multiple times to put that back in place, and they just thumb their nose at it. They've got one of the biggest budgets in the state of Florida, City of Cape Coral does. They want, and then it's up to you to raise the money to fight them. And even their own legislature, they can pass any law they want, whether it's constitutional or not. But then it's up to you to litigate to reverse it. And they use our tax dollars to keep us quiet.
So yeah, it's very frustrating going through banging our heads on the wall, trying to either get things done at a local level or at a state level, the way that we've been trying, no doubt about that. But we've got some things that we can do to change it up. We can let people know that there are alternatives to banging our heads against the wall. We can encourage folks to sign the petition, get their friends and family to sign the petition. But really, this is an all call to anglers. Anglers in the past have made the difference on coming through on water issues and making things better on issues in the past, like the net ban that was passed. That was the anglers coming through in the state to make that happen. Anglers can come through again and make this happen and help all of us realize that we still have better days of fishing ahead. So I encourage everybody, anglers or otherwise, to be sure to sign that petition, print up some extras, go down to your local bait and tackle shop. If you're not an angler, go down to the bait and tackle shop, buy some bait, talk to them about the issue, the amendment, and try to get people on board, especially anglers, because anglers can make this happen if we reach enough of them. So with that, Mel, do you have anything else that we can do other than sign petition, get our friends to sign petitions, and give money to the cause so that we can reach more people?
That's pretty much the gist of it. It's really the citizen initiative is all about individuals taking the initiative of, making and taking the opportunity of a conversation when you're wherever you go every day, all day long. So you have your clubs, you have your colleagues at work. your fellow parents and you know, at your kids' school or, you know, your fishing buddies, your Facebook fishing groups. If you follow someone on YouTube, make sure and make a little comment to let that person know and everyone else following, hey, have you heard about the Right to Clean Water? This is an initiative that needs to be passed. We have until the end of the year to make it happen. What can you do to help? And oh, by the way, here are some things you can do to help. So everyone can and should do something. The tangible bottom line is that we need about 900,000 signed petitions in the hands of supervisors of election offices by the end of the year, right? And that takes printing things out, sticking them on a clipboard and just, you know, walking around or having them in your car. There are also, just to let everyone know, if you don't know, we have a petition location infrastructure throughout the state. The map of those petition locations are located on our petition page. So Florida Right to CleanWater.org/petition. Just scroll down a bit and you'll see the map. Thank you, Cheryl, for creating it. But what petition location is there for is for people to drop by, sign their petition, leave it, or print off their own at home, sign it, drop it off at the location if they don't want to mail it in somewhere. Or if you have your neighbors, you walk down the street and get a signature from all your neighbors, or your church fellowship or your club, you know, you have this many you don't want to put in the mail. You have a petition location that you can swing by and drop it off at. So all of those options are available to you. The real meat and potatoes of this whole thing, the success of this really depends on people saying, okay, I have time Friday afternoon at 4 before I come home and start dinner to walk my street. And, you know, there's some cloud cover, I won't die. And, you know, just take it to my neighbors. Hey, have you heard of this? Just sign here. You're for the right to clean water. Of course you are. You know, those types of conversations are super easy. You know, I'm an introvert, honestly. I don't like talking with strangers, but I will. And it's super easy to strike up this type of conversation. The question is, do you want the right to clean water? A corollary is, oh, by the way, are you a registered voter? Because only those would count. So if yes, sign here. If I don't know, let's talk about it if you want. And if you don't have the answers to their questions, send them up to us. Our website, our social media, our contact information is out there everywhere. So, you know, just keep it rolling. And again, it's a daily thing. It's like a new habit. It has to be our new normal to think outside the box, because this is a law that reforms the box, that tells the box what it should be. And that is exactly what we need to have, like a top-down systemic change for the better for Florida waters. But
So ask your local bait and tackle shop to become a petition location as well, because they are pretty much central in a lot of this. My bait and tackle shop, the Genomes Fish Camp in Crescent Beach and St. Augustine, we're a petition location. We get a very diverse client base coming in there, and nobody is against this. They read over it, we talk about it, and they are all about it. So get your local bait and tackle shop on board with it. Don't forget to catch some fish this month and post those pictures on the Florida Fins and Frames tournament. I have personally put my money where my mouth is, and my business has contributed funds to the payout. So we're basically buying the gift cards for the other bait and tackle shops should any of the anglers statewide choose their local bait shop. We're going to be buying them gift cards for their local bait and tackle shop. So get your local tackle shops involved, catch fish, and let's all get on board for clean water.
I think to round up to the, I just like to point out, we got a lot of new faces here tonight. If you go to our webpage, we have the support of over, how many we got now, Mel? We've got a lot of the major state environmental groups. We have their support and backing. We have several hundred ambassadors, boots on the ground. doing this. This is not new. We've been at this now going on, some of us for 5 years, but this particular right to clean water effort is now going into its second year. And we've gained so much momentum just from January, basically, just in the last 6 or 7 months. It has become, the support has become exponential, and it will continue to grow exponentially as we all, bring this into the conversation on a daily basis.
I do want to make one more point. I can't believe I waited this long because I have forgotten. In this month's issue of Coastal Angler Magazine, the fishing magazine that you can find at pretty much every bait and tackle shop throughout the state. It's a free publication. There is a copy of the petition in this month, August's Coastal Angler Magazine. So pick up a copy of that. Anglers, we like to hear about these kinds of things through trusted sources, such as the fishing magazines that we read and the anglers that we follow online. So make sure that if you are not an angler, but you want to approach anglers, find some of the copies of the Coastal Angler Magazine and show them that. That's gonna be a great way to start that conversation.
And I would suggest too, it doesn't, it's natural for bait and tackle shops, but we have Andrew Lee. He's got two locksmith shops. How much traffic do you think would go through a locksmith shop? He's banging out petitions like you're crazy.
You should see how often I lock myself out. You'd be like, you know how much traffic locksmith gets.
Right. So if you know somebody with a small business and you can put some petitions there, that they're environmentally connected and aware, ask them to become a polling place or a petitioning place. Yeah.
I have some. I do, I work for a company where we visit restaurants all day long. I do installations for beers and stuff like that. And right now, I'm staying in the East Coast because they were sending me to the West Coast, but I hate that drive. I-4 is a nightmare. So now I'm here in the East Coast where I'm supposed to be. And I got a lot of customers down in the Vera, Cocoa area, all that, Titusville. So I can work with them.
Yeah.
They're really next to the water, so I'm sure they will sign this petition.
That's the perfect kind of idea. How many microbreweries we got in the state of Florida? You can't make beer without clean water.
Oh man.
Florida should have.
I do breweries all day long. That's right. Right. And restaurants, well, they need clean water to cook.
Yep.
So it's all, if it's good for one, it's good for everybody. This is just, we need to help each other out. I want to be able to eat my fish without, I want to catch it and eat it. I don't want to catch it and throw it back in the water because it's polluted.
Right. So Mel made a comment earlier today. I had to ask for some clarification. Imagine that the water becomes clean. The fisheries expands and grows and
that's right.
Now we can do away with size limits and quantity, and catch limits that are so pervasive today. You can't catch this over this size or this size. It's got to be in the slot. Imagine if there were so many fish that these kind of regulations could go away.
When I saw the bluefish limit, 3 bluefish per angler. Bluefish?
Right.
I'm like, really? You're limiting bluefish?
Like,
okay.
All right. So I think we've all kind of got our marching orders, get those petitions, find ways to get more petitions signed. Unless anybody has additional questions, it is my son's birthday. I am going to spend a little bit more time with him before we start wrapping it up for the night. So any other questions? I think, Mel, do you want to put in the comments, like the best way for anybody to get in touch with us if they have follow-up questions or comments, concerns, any of that stuff? So folks can, if something pops to mind after the call is over, they can get in touch with somebody.
I'm gonna
All
put my,
right.
I'm gonna put my email in there real quick, if anybody wants to reach out to me. Again, speakers, if, I'm working, this week, I worked over 50 hours, they scheduled me, I'm a pharmacist, and this week they had me work for like 52 hours. But when I'm available, if I can come to, I'm in Ocala. We have speakers all across the state. If your civic association, your Elks Club, your fraternal sorority organization wants to have somebody come speak to this issue, we can get somebody there. We can make it happen. So feel free to reach out, and we can certainly get there, and we're going to bring petitions. So
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Nice to
Bye-bye.
meet you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
God bless you.
Thanks, Leonardo.
thanks
You're welcome.
everybody for being here. Thank you so much.
Everybody.